So let's go on a little hike today. Let's go to the top of Mount Wilson in cloudy weather. Okay, so this is the official entry to the Mount Wilson Trail. And as I said, there already seem to be a lot of people here. Oops. Let me start my watch. So today, besides the hike, as you know me, I usually like to go on little talks. Today I thought I'd do a little talk. I actually wanted to do a more scientific talk on a subject that is very dear to me. But I'm going to save that one for the next hike. I'll give you a preview. It has to do with diabetes and one of the mechanisms. And it's not exactly what you think. A very, very nerdy subject. Okay, I'll admit insulin. But from an angle that you probably never heard. So stay tuned. But today I want to talk about something a little practical. And that is something that many of you who are watching this, as my audience should be pretty much beginners, folks who really have never done this kind of thing. And that is the difficulty of getting your ass out of bed and getting out there. Not only that, but once you actually do it, encouraging others to join you, getting the ball rolling with others. It's a difficult thing, and sometimes you will hear arguments and you will hear people complain and sometimes even curse you, accuse you of trying to hurt them because you want them to go out and do something. And this is where I thought we would talk about finding the best solution, the best way to encourage others to engage in this habit, and also to look at yourself. If you haven't done it, you might want to look at a few of these points. And almost all of these come from my own personal experience. I was taking a bit of a jog, but I decided to slow down to show you the new bridge that they are putting up here. By the time you see it, it probably will be done. And yes, there are a lot of people. I've already passed about 8 coming down and about another 8 going up. So, as I said, this is a popular trail. Okay.
Lap 1, 22:25. Heart rate 126. Average speed 2.6.
There you go. Okay. Let's make it to mile 2 now. Oh, that was 689 ascended.
Lap 2, 21:08. Heart rate 131. Average speed 2.7.
Oh, my heart rate went down. Probably because I was preparing the camera. Sorry about the boogers. So, am I punishing myself so early? Well, this is one of the mountains where, for my first time, I always tried to see if I could ever make it to 3 miles in under 1 hour. Never done it, but I get a little closer every time. Well, I seem to be hovering around around 70 minutes. Nice rope. So, sorry about that. Not as many people as there were down. Although there's still a few. Right now, I'm just trying to see if I can make it under 70 minutes. Oh. I'm keeping it on the video so you at least see the struggle. Ooh. But I gotta hurry up. My whole body feels heavy. Even though I'm not rising anymore. Actually, I think it was when it stopped rising that my body felt heavy. Oh, Jones Peak, that way. Yeah, but I don't think we'll be heading through Jones Peak this time. Maybe next time. Come on, pick up the pace, lazy ass. Your heart's relaxing. You can't be.
Lap 3, 22:07. Heart rate 118. Average speed 2.7.
There you go. In 65 minutes. And that's 1,859. That last mile was kinder to me than the other one. So, but I'll put my comparison times just so you can see. I don't think this was my fastest time. I think my fastest time was something like 64 minutes. Hey, doggy.
Hello.
Hello. But I don't think it was a very bad time either. So I'll put it there. I think it was okay. Like I said, we've been staying under that. It'll be a great day if I ever make it under 3, under an hour. Suffer for a bit there. Now we can actually talk about what we came here for, which was how to get yourself out here. Well, first thing, don't watch what I just did. See, when I talk to people in my neighborhood and community, something that frequently happens when I tell them to go out with me to a hike or to the gym, they will look at me and feel threatened. I've seen them, and it's like they look like me like I am some sort of big gorilla-like athlete. I've had one of them tell me that. She's like, yeah, but I don't want to be big and muscular. That's one of the oldest excuses, of course, we all know, especially if you're a woman. Unless you were already born with that genetic bulk, unless you were already born looking like the She-Hulk, you're not going to become one lifting weights. But the thing is, that's not their argument. That's what I was going to say. That's not, I mean, it kind of is, but it really isn't. Remember I said before, reasoning is not for arriving at the truth. It is to justify ourselves, to beat up people over the head with our reasons. Basically, reasons serve social purposes, not logical purposes. So I say this because with that woman, if I were to argue that, oh, there's the stream. That's all the sound that we were hearing right here. See that? Oh, your doggy. Hi, doggy. That's where all the stream, you see that? Which, of course, we would expect the stream to be around right now. So, I say this because I can address her concern, and I can tell her, you know, if you sold your soul to the devil, you would not get big. But that was never her reason. She was just trying to get me off her back. And that's what you got to understand. When somebody, especially when it comes to something like eating or exercising, if you talk to somebody, that's when you know you got to back off. And that's the whole thing. You don't want to engage their protective side, their self-protection. Sometimes you can't change people. This is also true. You have to realize they have to come of their own accord. When I was a kid, I actually went on a few hikes. I think I've told you this, but those who weren't here, I've said it once, a long time ago, but when I was a kid, I was taken on a few hikes, and they were some of the most unpleasant and just downright torturous things that I'd done. I truly loathed hiking. I absolutely hated it. But I also realized this was because I kind of felt like somebody was forcing me. And that just really makes things 10 times worse. You got to do it of your own accord. I mean, sometimes a little bit of suffering, especially when they're kids. Because who knows? Maybe even though I hated it, maybe it opened my eyes. Whenever you make it a priority, you will make time for it, no matter how busy you are. There was a time when I was working in the tech field, and I was doing 4 hours overtime every day. I would often work 6 days a week. And that was also the time that I discovered that you cannot exercise yourself thin. Or at least it's very, very hard. Because during that time, I was working out twice a day. I worked out once during lunch. So I was, of course, lucky. The gym was a 24-hour fitness, and it was like in the same building. So when lunch came around, I went straight down and spent my lunch on the treadmill. I did a half-hour workout. You're like, well, isn't that 30 minutes? Yeah, which means I would usually eat into a little bit of my own time. Or I think it was 25 minutes that I did it. And it took, so I'd usually be about 5 minutes late. You'd be like, well, isn't that taking time away? In many jobs, you're given a little bit of time. If not, I could have just made it a 20-minute workout, and that would have accounted for both things. Anyway, I would even come to work with my workout clothes under me. So that way, again, time saving. Once I was done, I would switch over. I already had all my stuff ready. And I would put my workout clothes near the monitors, near the hot part of the monitors. So yeah. And that, I was always worried that, at some point I might stink up the place with my daily sweat. But I always tried to do things to make sure that that didn't happen, including I would buy Febreze, get other disinfectants, clean up the monitors, so that nobody would be the wiser. As a matter of fact, it is only now that I'm telling you that I did that. Nobody there knew that I did that. Once work was over, I would go back down to the gym again and work out a second time. I did that for about 6 months. I actually did lose weight, but not where I wanted. My face got really skinny. I might put a picture here of what I looked like back then. Yeah. But I did it. I made it my priority. There are more examples. When I was going to university, I would often fit my gym with my study time so that I could read my books while I was at the gym. I'd bring my clipboard with my notes so that I could do both things. Of course, you never do either of them that well, but you make at least a little bit of progress, is what I'm saying. I would usually do like superficial note taking. I'd go over some of my subjects superficially.
Lap 4, 28:30. Heart rate 119. Average speed 2.5.
I'm slowing down. Oh, look. It's finally clearing. Wow.
She had
After so much cloud cover. That's good. At least the sun screen that I put on will get some use then.
Think about the most fundamental priorities in your life, like eating, drinking, and sleeping. Those are so important to your existence, they operate at a subconscious level. That is, you don't think about them until they arise. Hunger is probably the most common priority, and we all know that once you feel the need, hunger grows until it becomes your only concern, and you can't get back to your other things until you stuff your face. What is just as important is this hunger often doesn't require lots of work. Just walk to the fridge and eat. Now, this points out two useful properties of important priorities. And that is, number one, they cannot be ignored. And number two, they don't require much work to be satisfied. Now, of course, before you can even use these properties, you must decide to make exercise this important. It must be so important that, like hunger, if you haven't done your workout, you should feel some sort of anxiety to go do something. If you missed your gym, at least go for a 5 or 10 minute walk. The important point is it should be nearly impossible to avoid, but easy to do. My main point is you must make exercise as important as eating, but make it very easy to get some exercise done. So when you miss a session, you don't end up feeling like a failure and be at risk for giving up. And so this is what I'm going to cover over the next couple of points here, which is hopefully we can make it a priority and make it easy for you to do. So let's go ahead and keep on going.
Lap 5, 30-31. Heart rate 123. Average speed 2.4.
Oh yeah, I'm slowing down. That's 33:27 descent, 121 descent, pace 50 or 33, moving 157.49, 124. We should have come up on the bench. Well, off by probably 100 yards or so. It's probably coming right up. Yeah, because I know we're nearby. Again, this is not such a hard hike. I've just made it hard by going fast. So next we're going to talk about how to get yourself out the door. As you're sitting there and resisting the urge, reduce the cost. Tell yourself, I'm only going to go there for 20 minutes, just gonna screw around a little, and then I'll be back. Whatever makes your lazy ass feel like, okay, I can do that. I mean, even walks, and of all the exercises that I do, I think I do walking more than anything. But even on walks, there are plenty of times, as a matter of fact, half the time, and that's a lot for walks, because I actually like walking. But half the time, I want to go out. And even for a walk, I'm like, then just go for a nice, flat walk. See, sometimes the thing is that many of my walks, I've already engineered them. So I'll go up a couple 100 feet on almost all my walks. And that's a challenge. And so when I'm about to go out, before I go out, I'm like, you know what? Today, we're just going to walk nice and flat. We're going to take it easy. Because often, I will also push myself to do 30 miles an hour, which is a nice brisk walk. But to get myself out the door, I'll be like, no, let's do nice 2.5 mile, which for me is already a slow walk. This 2.5 mile flat walk. Easy. And that gets me out the door. So even that, as I said, I like walking because once I'm out walking, my lungs clear up. There's so many good things that I feel after a walk. It is the one thing, if nothing else, go walk a lot. It'll take a few years for you to really, really feel as good as I do, but it's worth it. Anyway, that's a separate part of our discussion. So for activation energy, lower it. just like enzymes do. Lower it. Make it as easy as possible so that you can go out. You can always lower the bar super low. Now, once you do, go and do at least something reasonable for exercise. Only you know what that is. For me, as I said, at least a mile, that's something. I've never done a mile though. I don't even think when I started. I think my shortest distances were maybe 2 or 3 miles. I'm a sucker for punishment. But that's the other thing, is I suspect that you too, if you go out and you start getting that circulation going, your first few times, of course, not because you haven't done it. But once you've done a few times, and as a matter of fact, you know what? If you're absolutely beginning and you just can't even do anything, then just go out there. Walk 100 yards and then go home. If that's all your physical body can do, not a problem. At least you're out there. The point is, you get out there and you start to build a habit. Does 100 yards sound shameful? It'll feel like that. I understand that it'll feel like that. But even when I was ashamed, I would tell myself, okay, this feels shameful, but I'll use that shame to motivate me to keep doing this. And that's what I did. You can do the same thing. However you feel that, you'll be like, no, yeah, it feels bad, but let's keep doing it so that I improve. And I will improve. And maybe I won't be an Olympic athlete, but my improvement will still be impressive. So here is the second trail. And we are at the bench. That is 5.37 miles, 3,600 feet, well, 3,599. 124 descent, 208.27, and 110. Okay. Usually I would rest there, but I think we can continue. Let's go ahead and continue. Okay, we have reached the toll road, and that's 594, 4060 ascent, 124 descent, 223.48 moving. Whew. Oh. Yeah, when you push fast, you suffer more. Duh. In case you didn't know.
Lap 6, 32:25. Heart rate 126. Average speed 2.2.
I'm still slowing down. Oh well. I think I'll make it to the top without going under 2 miles an hour. We'll see.
Another important way to get out the door is to bootstrap yourself into a positive feedback loop. In technology, the term boot comes from when a computer would turn on and load a very simple set of instructions that in turn loaded the entire complex operating system. So the idea here is finding a simple and easy way to kick yourself out the door, and once you're out there, like a computer, begin doing all the things you need to do to get moving. One easy thing to do is to prepare all you need for the gym the night before. Another thing I do is put on my gym clothes so that all I need to do is drive to the gym. The important point is, like a computer, you need to make your boot process as quick and simple as possible. Your bag should be ready. Your schedule should be prepared so that working out is just as easy as getting in your car and driving. The other half of this is the positive feedback, which is like a cheat code for life. Positive feedback starts small, but the magic is in its constant reinforcement. This is one of the big reasons behind why some adults are good athletes, good mathematicians, and good at certain things. In many cases, they weren't even better as kids, but they just got lucky and were recognized for a lucky win and built that into their superb ability. A common example I give is a child who was recognized for being faster than kids in his group. He might not even be so fast in reality, but as he grew up, he was faster than his group and was recognized for it. This filled him with more confidence so that he ran more often and was more likely to practice, since every time he tried, he was more likely to be rewarded. This feedback is barely noticeable on a daily level, but if you zoom out over years, you see the effects are gigantic. As an adult, he has thousands of miles of practice, which by itself makes him faster. If we instead compare him to the fat kid who was slow and every time he ran, he lost, in 20 years, he's going to be a fat adult with 0 miles of practice and a very negative attitude towards running. This fat adult is going to be bad at running because he has no practice, and every time he tries, he gets negative feedback instead. Is it any wonder some folks avoid exercise? I mean, imagine if that fat kid had gotten some positive feedback decades earlier.
Lap 7, 23:22. Heart rate 113. Average speed 2.3.
That is 45:21 ascend, 124 descend, 2:47:22 moving time, 114. So, yes, I'm taking it a little easier right now, but because, actually I shouldn't, because I wonder, could I make it to the top in the next 13 minutes? I don't know. It'll be close. And that'll be within 3 hours. I think that'll be a good time. I might even be able to make it back down as the sun just barely is going to start to set.
So what you want to do is find ways to produce these little victories consistently. There are many strategies you could dream up, and it's well worth the effort to come up with a few. But I'll share a couple of strategies that I use, the first of which is to set ridiculously easy goals, like I said before. For example, if all you can run is 100 yards, well, start with that. Then move up to 150 in a month, and in a year you're running a mile. If you do this regularly, you'll be running 2 to 3 miles. In another year, you're running 5 miles. In another few years, you're up to 10 miles, and eventually, you'll be running a marathon. The most important element in this is not the distance, but the consistency and the easy goal. Always make the goal easy enough to accomplish so you keep getting positive, consistent feedback. I say this from experience as a bad runner, which I know I'm not a bad runner anymore, but I still call myself that. And that's when I started as an adult, I failed many times until I decided to run 100 yards. I slowed down and slowly built up to a mile, and every time I was embarrassed by how little I ran, but I finished my runs. The important thing was I got out the door thinking I was running something totally within my abilities. Even today, I do leave the door telling myself I'm going to run something that I can do. And even though I don't always do easy runs, I still keep my promise of finishing 99.9% of all my runs. Now, another way is to reward yourself, but in a productive way. One thing I do with my runs is at least once in a while, I do a run in a place that is absolutely beautiful, like the beach or a lake or somewhere else awesome. The main point there is to do your activity in a place that you would just look forward to. Now, in the gym, I reward myself in a different way with a dip in the jacuzzi once a week. For me, the jacuzzi is so relaxing that it makes my worst workout almost tolerable. Now, you might not like a jacuzzi, but the important point is you can come up with your own reward as long as it's something that will reinforce your good habit. Now, it probably should not be food or anything else that could become an addiction, though. Now, the reason I avoid food rewards should be obvious. In our society, we already use food for everything, and too many of us have problems with food. So it's actually better to leave food out of your rewards. The important point is a reward can be during your exercise or after your exercise.
Oh, here we are. That sign is what at least I consider the top. There we go. And that is, here you go. So this is another one of the goals that I sometimes will set. That is at 301, 16, 4797, 124 descent. 301, 24, did I say? Yeah. So, right now, though, my water is fine. I have only brought 2 liters, but considering how cold it is, I'm going to take a little break here because I haven't taken more than, I think I took like a 20-second break when you saw me walking away. That's about it. So I should take a break. But yeah. Gotta have my hot chili, especially in cold weather. So here's the next point. Point 3, which is once you've actually built the habit, or once you've actually gone out, pushed yourself, think, find your internal motivator. Everybody has an internal motivator. And probably one of the most important things you want to do is you want that motivator, you want to cultivate it. The motivator is going to be both positive and negative. Now, one important thing is many of us can find negative motivators quite easily. My negative motivator was my weight. I always saw myself as fat and ugly. Now, I share this with you, but keep in mind that I'm smart enough to recognize that that's not the reality. But your motivator is not something you can reason with. So my feelings of insecurity, my feelings of weight, these are not things that I can just talk myself out of. So I harness it. But, important thing, you harness it within limits. Do not let it control you. My insecurity is there, and it talks to me in my ear like a little bug, but I don't let it rule me. Then I have positive motivators. I have a drill sergeant in me. That's a motivator. So your motivators are these forces inside of you that you can't even reason with. They're like the winds, and all you got to do is learn how to sail with them. Find all your motivators. You should have, like I said, at least one positive and one negative motivator. Just remember, don't let the negative motivator take over. It is important because if you don't have a motivator, you do. Everyone has them, by the way. But if you don't think you do, what's going to get you out? What's going to push you? Now, some of you may actually have other problems that are even more serious. Maybe there's mental health issues. I can't speak to that. I am not skilled in that. All I can do is give folks the advice, and that is that I have worked with folks who have had mental illness. Maybe it wasn't so bad, but in general, usually one of the things that really helped them was to build productive social relationships. I could be wrong too. There could be people who genuinely have no motivation. I don't know what to tell you. I'd like to meet you because every person I've met has some motivation. Even the ones, like I said, that are absolutely depressed, they have some motivation. Let's sail those winds. Sail them to success. Oof. Even with the gloves, my hands are getting cold. I have the other gloves too, but these give me more freedom. I wanted to test them. And the sweat, not good. So let's go ahead and get out of here.
The word motivation describes the inner voice that animates us. We have many motivators, such as hunger, sleepiness, fear, contribution, love, hate, exploitation, attention, sex, esteem, and growth. Now, the subject of motivation can get very complicated, but we don't need to become psychologists. Just listen to your inner drives, desires, or that little voice inside of you. Some folks might think they have no motivation other than to play games and sleep and eat, but even these are motivations. If playing games motivates you, you might ask, what about the games is compelling? Here's the thing. When interrogating yourself, realize you aren't trying to impress anybody. Instead, look into your drives as if you were a psychologist. And this is important because this makes it easier to dissect the reasons that you do some things without the interference of trying to think of socially desirable answers, which can be a problem here. Now, all you need to do is begin to use some of these forces to get moving. Now keep in mind, you might not identify the best reasons at first, but what's more important is you start testing your motivations. And if they're wrong, just look for other ones. If you keep interrogating your motives, little by little, you'll find the motivations that get you out the door. The important thing is you keep trying and you get better at it. Now, your motives should be like hunger in that they must be persistent and eventually become nearly irresistible. This is where positive and negative motivators work together. Now, in my example, I feel like if I don't go to the gym for more than a day, I'm going to start losing the muscle I gained and the speed that I run at. And it cost me so much to get here that I don't want to lose the progress I made. Conversely, I also feel like every time I go to the gym, I get a little bit stronger and a little bit faster, which feels good, man. These two motivators can be quite strong, but there are times when my negative motivator kicks me out the door. My negative motivator is my fear of gaining weight and looking like a blob. And I normally resist it because you should not let negativity rule you. But sometimes it's useful to let it sting for a bit. So in short, discover your motivators, take notes, and refine them. And once you do, harness them the same way sailors harness the winds. Remember, a skilled sailor can travel in any direction, including against the wind, once he learns how to exploit the power of the wind.
Going to leave the toll road. And make our way down. Now this is a shortcut on the way down, but I don't often take shortcuts. I might take them on the way up, mostly because some of these shortcuts are steeper. So, a little more fun. So, now, here's another point that is important for getting yourself out and making a habit. And that is, if you've already done the low activation and you found motivation, there's an important thing you also want to do, which is make the habit itself the number one goal, even more than the exercise. This is why when I said, make your activation energy low, one of the things that I tried to do when I started going to the gym is on some of my first visits, I wouldn't even do anything. I just screw off and just go throw some weights around. Well, actually, my first visits to the gym were just like almost every other beginner's visits. I spent all of my time on the machines, thinking I was lifting, because the machines are kind of funny. They build your ego, because some of them will let you lift very heavy weights. See, this is another shortcut. You come from there. So that's where it would have come from. Go down here. And then go over there, because this road we're taking is going to go out that way, and then it's going to come back down that way. I guess if you're in a hurry, yeah. But we are actually making pretty good time. Anyway, yeah. So my early use of machines and stuff, I was all thinking I was doing great. Machines, not such a great idea. But we'll touch on that later. But because more important than that, though, I mean, you know, if you use machines or you use free weights, more important is build a habit. And that was what I started to do. The thing is that building the habit will be full of failures. And this is why you should also forgive yourself when you miss a few times. You miss a few, oh well. You might even miss a few months. I mean, as the years go by, there may be times that you don't. What you do want to do, though, is as you start building a habit, realize that even I, who have been doing it for decades now, my habit could break at any time. Actually, maybe not, because if I don't walk for a while or go to the gym, I start to get anxiety. But I mean, for when I began, yes, there would be times when I wouldn't go for a month, 2 months, 3 months. What brought me back? I never took it too heavily that I failed or that I had dropped off. I did always know that my habit wasn't the best. Thing is, your habit will never be the best that it can be. You will never go as often as you optimally should. That's just, well, I shouldn't say it never. Rather, it's hard to have perfect habits. So don't beat yourself up if you don't go every single time. Just start building it. That's the important thing. Start building it. You've made it a priority. Remember I said that. Now, the other thing that you want to do is, in order to be able to build a habit, don't spend all day at the gym. I say that, and I become a big hypocrite because my typical gym visit is like 2.5, 3 hours. The thing is, I've been doing it forever, so I can. My runs are also like 2.5, 3 hours. When I count my long ass cool downs and my runs, you know, my runs are what, like 2 hours, and my cool downs another 35, 40 minutes, almost 3 hours. Seems ridiculous. As a matter of fact, one of my students that runs told me that. It's like, I don't want to spend all day. I didn't either. That's the thing. That's the thing about building a habit. You don't start by doing 2 and 3 hour sessions. That's going to absolutely kill your life. You're going to feel like you have nothing. No, start with small, short habits. Go to the gym, half an hour. Boom, you're done. Go back home. Go to the gym, half an hour. You're done. Try to be productive with your time. Don't screw around in the gym. It's one thing that I see many people do, and it's like, I mean, I'm not saying never do, but sometimes that's all they do. And it's like, I get it. It's nice talking to the cuties and socializing with your buds, but you came there for a reason. If your buds can help you, encourage you, great. But that's another thing you want to remember is many times our fitness journey is often going to be lonely. You're not going to have anybody there with you. There has been years when I had a good friend who went with me. And for about a year, he went all the time. And he gained 20 pounds of muscle. So that was great. But even I knew that that was only going to happen for a while. Eventually, he moved on. Oh, we're still great friends. But my whole point, though, is that don't also depend on your friends. Just make it your thing, you know, and go to work. Just, don't spend forever. Let's cover our next point, which is form is king. Along with that, I think I'll cover also a side topic along with that is usually covered, which is free weights. But anyway, first, form. See, when you are going to build the habit of exercise, remember that many people who work out end up getting injured. Now, to be honest, you need to start to build habits that will minimize that risk from the get-go. When I started working out, I was absolutely obsessed with making sure my form did not suck. And this goes to a very, very important point, and perhaps this point should actually be this instead, and that is respect the exercise you're doing. Too many people do not respect exercise. They do not respect workouts. They do not respect the activity that you are engaging in. They treat it as if it's just something that any idiot can do. Well, any idiot can play a few notes on a piano, but it takes a hell of a lot of work, and it takes many years of practice to play a Chopin concerto. Same thing with exercise, believe it or not. If you're going to work out, and that's why I was going to say perfect form, always learn form, read up on form. There are a few fundamentals, and that is learn the biomechanics of your body. If you just feel lazy and you don't, well, then hire yourself a coach. But it's not that hard. There are a number of movements, the fundamental movements, the movements that have been around for over 100 years are probably some of the best movements you can do. And for example, I generally recommend, one, of course, running. One, walking. Single best exercise. If you can do nothing else, walk. Walk a lot. I hike because I walk a lot. That's probably the best explanation of why I can do these miles as much as I do. Walk. Number 2, run. That is just so, running will give you more years, and it will give more life to your years too. So running is essential. Now, number 3, yes, go to the gym. In the gym, I strongly recommend that you do free weights. Now, let's touch on that in a bit, but so both walking, you might be like, well, what's the trick to walking? Well, there's a number of important habits you're going to want to develop, including if you, like me, live in the city, you need to start to be aware of where cars come out from. So safety concerns, basically. Look around. Sometimes it's best to walk against traffic so that you can see the cars coming at you. You see me. But yeah, develop the habits so that your walking will be safe and uneventful. If some places that I walk, I will bring my trusty pepper spray. And as is often the case, I almost never use it, maybe once every other year. But that once every other year, absolutely. Run. Well, I run barefoot. I generally still recommend folks at least consider it. I know it's not for everyone, but reason I recommend barefoot is exactly because barefoot is exactly what gave me proper form. Barefoot running is absolutely unforgiving of bad form. If your form is not perfecto, your feet will hurt like a mofo. Now, it's not the only way to do it, and I agree. So just find your way. Just make sure that your running form is as good as it is. See, I can't talk to all the other ways that runners with shoes do it, because I know I used to, and oh my God, it's like you got to worry about overpronation, underpronation, neutral shoes, all this other stuff. And then right now they have these shoes that are like freaking platform heels. Good God. I mean, I guess if they give you those advantages, sure. I mean, maybe even I would use them if I needed an extra 2 or 3 minutes at the end of a marathon, sure. But personally, though, I recommend you learn how to get the best form. That's also why, for me, barefoot is just so much easier, because I don't have to think about form. I just run and listen to my body and adjust my body adjusts. My feet will adjust the way they step, the way they land, exactly as needed. So I don't need to be thinking about, oh, am I pronating? Am I supinating? Am I whatever-inating? I just go out and run. If I'm doing it wrong, it hurts. When I'm doing it right, I'm okay. No knee problems, no shin splints, never gotten any of those. Worst problem I ever had was, as you can imagine, yes, glass in my toes. 2 times. Once was deep enough that I ended up going to the doctor, and that was because I bought cheap tweezers. Don't do that. Buy the fanciest, nicest tweezers you can get. Get surgical tweezers. Now, that's exactly what I have. I have some very expensive surgical tweezers and some other fancy tweezers. I've got a pair. Whenever I need them, I will have them. Although, there have been times when, glass happens. If it's never happened, it feels like it's going to be the worst thing in the world. Once it's happened, it's not. First of all, most it does is it kind of annoys you. But remember, if you're like me, you're going to be in a bit of pain from the run anyway. So the extra pain from the glass is not exactly going to blow you away. It's just going to annoy you a little more. There have been times when I've been running, that's what I was going to say, and it's just going to make you cringe, so trigger warning. There's been times when I'll be running, and this mostly, of course, in the ghetto where there's all the broken glass. I'll be running, get glass stuck, and I'll literally just dig up a branch or something, and if it's early enough, that's what I'm saying, if it hasn't yet dug itself in, I'll just dig it right back out. I know that breaks the whole rule about getting the fanciest tweezers you can. I don't know what to say. I still think you should get the fanciest tweezers. Because sometimes, like, if I would run into glass, I normally just keep running. I just change my gait. That's the thing about even that. It's not like the run is over. No, the run never ends when I get glass in my foot. I just change my step. I've always been able to change it. I mean, perhaps there's always a possibility that it's going to puncture you exactly in a way that's going to force you to end it. I mean, you know your own body. What I'm saying is that from what's happened to me now, but maybe that's why I need tweezers, because I keep running and I guess the glass just goes in. And so by the time I'm done, then I need tweezers. But that may also be why there have been times, see, that actually makes sense. Why is it that sometimes I've been able to just dig it out with, like, literally, I think one time I used a rusty nail. Yes, I know, botulism and or whatever the tetanus. But when I got back, yeah, I washed the hell out of my foot. And although it's not a guarantee, but never had a problem. Anyway, I think if I dig it out while I'm in the run, yeah, it'll come up much quicker. If I finish the run, then I'm going to have to go dig it out with some nice tweezers. Okay, fine. Just get, like I said, make sure they're nice tweezers so that because what you don't want to do is you don't want to grab them and then push them in further. All of this sounds like it's absolute horror to do. The first time you do it, you'll realize, yeah, this sucks. But it's not even enough. Like, that's what I was going to say. It's not even enough to discourage me from running. I still prefer it. That's the only injury I get. I don't get shin splints. Don't get, what do you call it? Plantar fasciitis. Knee problems. Nope. I did get them when I started, but that's because I ran with shoes. That's why I went barefoot. But again, if you don't, then still, when you run, just make sure that you do find your best form, because your form is king. If you don't, you're going to start to develop improper form. And you're not going to realize it until you're like years into your exercise, and then it's really hard to break bad habits. So that's for running and walking. For the gym, I first off recommend free weights for everyone, especially, and listen to me carefully, especially seniors and women. Free weights are even more important to seniors and women than they are to men. Why, you may ask? Well, free weights are they require a certain amount of balance in your body, in your musculature, and this is something that machines just don't give you. As a matter of fact, that's what I was going to say when I first started going to the gym for a number of years. Yeah, I was one of those. Like I said, I was one of those kids who was in the gym using the machines. And the machines, you can stack the weight, and ooh, you feel like you're just a badass. The machine is just bogus. I remember I would be at this bench machine, but it was a bench pressing machine. Okay, well, I did that. And I could throw on plates, and yeah, I felt like the Hulk. Then from there, I moved on to is it the Smith machine? I think it's called. The press machine. I'll put a picture of what it looks like up here. But it's kind of like a bench press, but it's kind of like a machine. And I used it, and I would put on plates. And I still felt like I was doing good. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm saying. One day I decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and try some free weights. Oh boy, was that an eye-opener. My first try with the free weights, and the bar nearly fell to one side and nearly choked me. Why? Well, because I suddenly learned immediately how unbalanced I was. Not how unbalanced, but rather how I was, I had not learned balance on the machines. So, and I didn't even put on the full weight that I put on the other press machine. I put on like half the weight, and it was too much. I couldn't handle it, and I was embarrassed because some guys came over and helped put the bar back up. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? I thought it was the same. Nope. And that's when I learned, what you have to do is use the free weights, because you will learn that balance. Now, when you hear that from me, you might be like, well, yeah, but you're lifting like crazy amounts of weights. I don't want to lift crazy amounts of weight. Mine is an extreme example. For the rest of you, like I said, for women and seniors, I'm not expecting women and seniors to lift those weights. As a matter that would not be appropriate for you, and that would not be productive. The reason I recommend is precisely because of the extreme example I gave, which is what you're going to learn with free weights is you're going to learn to lift, to strengthen, but your musculature is going to do it in a balanced way so that you are not going to be unbalanced like I was. And as a side note, yes, you will probably get a little more muscular. No, Jane, you're not going to become the She-Hulk. You'd have to sell your soul to the devil, and you'd have to inject steroids. You are not. You could literally work your ass off like an obsessed person, and you will not look like the She-Hulk. You are not going to get giant. No, woman, no older person, you're not. Getting muscles is not something that just happens by surprise. Those women that you see with big muscles were already pretty muscular long before they started this. Whoa, my arm hurts from holding it up so long. This is Orchard Camp. I'm gonna take a little break. I've taken no breaks other than very small. Oh, well, the one that I took at the top. I lie.
So let's recap. Achieving an active lifestyle requires understanding the essential factors that contribute to a successful exercise routine. Now, by prioritizing exercise, simplifying our approach, harnessing motivation, and building a consistent habit, we can transform our lives and reap the benefits of regular physical activity. Now, the first step is to prioritize exercise, elevating it to the same level as eating and sleeping. Making exercise a true priority signals its importance, fostering a genuine commitment to regular physical activity. By recognizing it as a vital part of our overall well-being, we set the stage for a healthier and more active lifestyle. Now, the next step is simplifying our approach, which is crucial for a sustainable exercise routine. Streamlining our preparation, such as wearing gym clothes and having a ready-to-go bag, removes barriers and makes it easier to get started. Additionally, implementing positive feedback reinforces the habit of exercise, boosting our motivation and belief in our capabilities to a level that is practically magical. Now, third, understanding our motivation and harnessing it is a key element. Our inner motivators act as a driving force, propelling us even when willpower wavers. Identifying what truly inspires and drives us on a personal level fuels long-lasting commitment. Whether it's improving overall health, achieving fitness goals, or finding joy in movement, if you can. Tapping into our motivators provides the traction needed for sustained exercise. Fourth, building a consistent exercise habit is vital. Consistency is more important than intensity, so starting with manageable exercise sessions is key. By going consistently, we wire our brains to adapt to regular physical activity. Learning proper form from the beginning sets a solid foundation, preventing the need for corrections later on. So, in conclusion, adopting an active lifestyle involves prioritizing exercise, simplifying our approach, harnessing motivation, and building a consistent habit. Embracing these elements will lead to positive transformations in our physical and mental well-being. So let's go ahead and commit to prioritizing our health, simplifying our routine, staying motivated, and building that consistent exercise habit, and witness the profound impact it will have on our lives.
Okay, so we're done with the hike, and we'll go ahead and put the statistics. Boop, there they are. As you can tell, 15.36 miles. Not bad. That's usually what I do. So the time, that's a pretty good time. So I guess all that struggle and suffering all at the end, I don't know. I felt very tired on my way back down, because it's funny. The way up versus the way down, as you can tell, almost indistinguishable. So, because I remember when I would start doing this, I would go up, I think it was 3.5 hours going up, maybe even almost 4. And I would come back down, and it would be a half hour sooner. And now you notice there's not much of a difference between up and down. A lot of that just is on my way down. I'm just tired. I could push myself a little more. Maybe it was also the sandals that I used. As you noticed, I had Chacos, and Chacos get heavy Chacos are great for anything under 10 miles. After 10 miles, they start to weigh down on you. It's just like people who wear those big combat boots, those heavy boots. They're great at the beginning, I guess, but try walking more than 10 miles in those things. You will. That's why I normally use the other. That's why I normally use the other sandals, but they had a gigantic hole in them, so I couldn't use them. Anyway, apart from that, as you can tell, there was a lot of new stuff there, so that's actually encouraging. They're always keeping that trail new. A lot of people there, as you noticed, there were just dozens and dozens. But as you go up and up and up, fewer and fewer. So most folks probably just go like a mile or two up and then they come back down, which is good. That's the thing. You challenge yourself. It's not about if you don't have to go to the top of Mount Wilson. You can just go to where the houses are, wherever you feel comfortable. Push yourself. That was my whole point about getting you out here to exercise. Yes, I push myself, but I've already been doing this for a long time. If you want a similar goal, yes, you can. That's what I did. I decided I wanted to be fit. You just first of all, remember activation energy and the positive feedback. That is critical. I know I forgot it at first because going up there, my brain is just like, but positive feedback. Remember what we talked about, how some people are born lucky and they get it, but if you didn't get it, make it yourself. Okay? Don't forget. Also, you tell somebody, back off if they're use a light touch. But remember, you can't change, you can't force. You can be a positive influence though, and just remember also, make sure proper form, all the other things we talked about, get yourself out there. Don't forget to challenge yourself. It really is important. Start with yourself, like Michael Jackson said, and then change the world. Okay, well, until next time, take care.